Hey, how's it going? This is I Read Reddit, and I'm back today with more Entitled Parent stories. Now, if you like these ones, remember to throw a shrimp on the barbie and get ready for what's ahead. I think you'll like it. Our first story is by user Kanyas Colors, titled, My entitled uncle and aunts expect me and my sister to be their maids during my grandmother's funeral while they are unlawfully raiding the house I grew up in. A bit of background. I moved to the US around 3 years ago, and this happened around 2 years of me living in the US. I'm originally from Germany, so sorry if my English is wonky here and there. But I met my husband there. He proposed to me while I was meeting his family in the US for the first time, and I'm a fairly you only live once kind of person. I had been waiting for my green card for nearly 2 years, when around Christmas time my grandfather had a stroke and shortly after died. He was 94. I was devastated because I had not been able to see him in nearly 2 years, and he meant the world to me. Around 3 months after, my grandmother went on a walk and was hit by a driver, speeding out of his driveway without looking. She died not even a day after from how severe her wounds were. I woke up to the news that my grandmother had passed, a week after finally getting my green card, and 2 days after receiving her last letter urging me to write to her again, because I hadn't done so for a while. My husband knew how much pain I was in and booked a flight for the very next day, even though it really hurt our savings for a wedding ceremony that we had planned for the coming October. I took 2 weeks of leave from my work. They weren't happy, but they also couldn't afford to lose me, so they sucked it up. I cried a bunch on the plane. When I walked down the street, I'd walked so many times before, and when I finally came through the door, with the house still smelling like she never left, I broke down. Later, my mother came to console me, until she had to break the news that aside from me, my uncle, one of my 3 aunts and 2 of my cousins, who had 4 and 3 kids each, would stay in the house as well. My mother was the only actual child of my grandmother. My uncle and my 3 aunts were my grandfather's, and his first wife's kids. The first wife had died to breast cancer. They never had the best relationship with my grandmother because most of them were between 10 and 18 years old and didn't consider her their real mom. Also, my family is super Christian, but most of them are the stereotypical holier-than-thou kind of Christians. My grandfather set up that his children would only get his inheritance after both grandparents pass, out of worry for my grandmother. Many of my aunties and my uncle had been very not so subtly voicing how happy they were about finally getting their money. I got 2 days of alone time in the house that I pretty much grew up in until all hell broke loose. Our cast, there are more but these are the important ones: entitled uncle, entitled aunt, creepy cousin, me, my lovely sister, my lovely mum, and my late grandmother. 2 days after staying alone in the house, the entitled uncle and entitled auntie arrive. Uncle is a massive, sexist jerk who preaches that women were created by God to serve men. On a side note, all of my aunties and uncles are filthy rich. One of my uncles literally is the head doctor of gynecology clinic and pretty much owns it. They all have minimum 3 cars each and a nice house, but they're all greedy and cheap. First thing he does, after saying hi, is ask where my grandmother put her expensive harmonicas. She had 4 beautiful silver ones. He says his daughter Sam wants to have one, but he doesn't know which one, so he takes all of them. The auntie is searching for jewelry and takes all the money people bring in as offerings for the cost of the funeral, most likely pocketing it all. Most of the jewelry is in the room that I'm staying in, but I kept it locked because I don't trust them. She actually asked me why I kept locking the door, and I told her, because of the children that one of the cousins is bringing later, and I like my valuables locked away. She proceeded to scold me, an adult, about how that wasn't fair, and how dare you don't trust us. Both of them refuse to book a hotel, so they stay in the house, which isn't a big deal, but both expect to be taken care of. They send me, and my sister, who spends most of the days with me to see that I'm doing okay, to go buy groceries with our money. cook them food, and then do the dishes afterwards. Mind you, the flight alone cost me $3,000, because it's the bad kind of last minute and I only have so much money to spend, though my husband worked out a pretty generous budget for one person. I'm too beaten down to fight this, and I don't want to start drama, so I mostly comply. When me or my sister ask the uncle for help or money, the uncle just brushes this off, saying that those are womanly duties. He only helps with the dishes once. We start planning the funeral, and the uncle says that it should be adults only. I'm a married 21-year-old woman, so I was not budging in being involved. The following conversation goes on. I think, we can just leave the same ceremony. Grandmother liked it, and it would save us time and effort. I just stare at him and look at him horrified, saying, "What?" My mum is then too perplexed to say anything, but my auntie then says, "Yes, it was very nice last time. That's a great idea." To which my mum replies, "I don't think so." And me saying absolutely not. Entitled uncle gives me an annoyed look, and I say back to him, "She was her own person. She deserves her own funeral." I'm holding back tears at this point. She raised him after his mother died, and this is how he treats her? He also tries to insert his darling daughter, a famous Christian singer, into as many musical pieces as possible. My mother, my sister, and I are firmly against this, as this is no time to show off, and our voices are heard. She is only allowed to play instrumental numbers. My sister and I contribute a lot to the funeral planning, while the entitled uncle just sits there with a sour expression, trying to put his dumb ideas into the planning as much as possible. But ultimately, the idea of mine, my sister's, and my mother's are better received by friends of my grandparents and the pastor. We even tell him stories about how my grandmother struggled as a child after the war, some anecdotes she used to tell us, etc., which the pastor likes, because he likes knowing more about the person the service is for. On an evening during the dinner my sister and I made, this horrible conversation ensues. After the entitled uncle and auntie praise what good Christians they are, while me and my sister are trying to not throw up in our own mouths. The uncle says, "You know, when I first heard about the accident, my first thought was with the poor man who drove the car. I would really like to meet him and tell him that not only God, but also we forgive him." Auntie nods in agreement and spews some more about forgiveness and how great God is. My sister slams her hands on the table, gets up, and leaves the kitchen, without a word. I sit there boiling. The uncle says, "What's wrong with your sister? Is her stomach upset?" I just look at him, baffled, disgusted, and say, "Did you just listen to yourself? Our first thought was with Grandma. How she was dragged under the car until that monster realized that he had a person under his own car. How much pain she was in. How much she suffered. And how she died alone in the hospital." I then break down into tears and go to my grandmother's bedroom, the room I was sleeping in. The uncle tries to tell me that I can't talk to him like that and yada yada, but my sister and I ignore him through the locked door, holding each other crying. Entitled auntie tries to mediate, but the uncle is unreasonable and goes to his room. We don't speak about this again though. In fact, we don't speak with him at all. Later that week, we go to buy a coffin and her flowers for her grave. The entitled auntie and uncle try desperately to buy the cheapest of the cheap, as they don't want to lose much from their money. All that stuff was taken out of my grandparents' money. The lady from the morgue asks us if anyone wants to see her, but warns us that it won't look nice because of the cause of death. I am the only one who does. And the uncle says, "Oh, you don't want to see that? She will look gross." The auntie replies, "Yeah, you're better off not to. Why make yourself more upset? I have not seen her for 2 years and not by choice. I want to see her one last time." I said not by choice, because when waiting on your green card and you apply for it when you're already in the United States, adjustment of status, You're not allowed to leave the country or they'll drop your entire case. Germany isn't very big, and whilst most of my relatives live farish away for German standards, most of them visited maybe once every 2 years. My cousins even less than that. Most of them would only see my grandparents every 5-ish years for my grandfather's birthday, when he would hold a big family get-together and he would pay for the food, hotels, etc. Regardless, the entitled uncle kept telling me that I didn't know what was good for me, even when I was a married, growing bloody adult. I got to say goodbye, caress her cold cheeks, and really make peace with the fact that she was gone and not just vanished. The day of the service is the worst. Entitled uncle's 2 sons come with their combined 7 children. They run around, scream, make a mess, and their parents don't even attempt to clean anything. The carpet is now stained with mud, cabinets are open, food is being left out, etc. Some kids gossip about how nasty my grandmother looked. No one saw her but me and the uncle later, so he must have told them. And how that girl, me, still went to see her. I kept telling my cousin to tell his kids to simmer down, but he ignores my pleas. The service was nice. The pastor had noticed how me, my mother and sister were the only ones truly affected by this and addressed us directly a few times during the service. Some of my relatives were chatting and laughing during the service right behind me, which made me really mad. They couldn't even keep up the facade of grieving children for the duration of the service. When my grandmother was put under the earth and people gave us, my mother, me and my sister, their condolences, they were pretty much forming a line to do so. Cece came up to hit on me while giving me his condolences, saying things like, "You look so beautiful, and I missed you so much, and I'm so glad to finally meet you again." Right next to my grandmother's grave. I felt sick. He had been overly touchy and creepy in the past, and not only was I married, but I was literally next to the grave of my grandmother that had just been put in the ground. The after party was people celebrating like it was your normal get-together. Everyone was cheery, and you wouldn't be able to tell that this was a funeral if no one had told you. Cece, my creepy cousin, tried to creep at me a few times, and other relatives tried to be overly friendly, while talking all about the money that they would be making. After eating, I just wanted to leave. On my way out, I encountered Sam, the Christian singer who'd been wailing non-stop, telling me how she must be the saddest person here because she's still crying. I just stood there silent, trying not to punch her. I had not seen them for 2 years, 2 fudging years, and here stood this chick, crying over a person she only cared to visit after 5-ish years, only when my grandpa was on his deathbed and went straight to abandoning my grandmother once again. She cried some more and tried to ask me how I was, how I've been, but I kept it short because I just wanted to get out of there. I couldn't take this anymore. She gave me €100 in cash for my mother. I guess she meant it as an offering, but to me it was guilt money. My mother instead gave it to me because she knew how much money I had lost over this trip. After the service, my sister and I had to clean the entire house because of the horrible state the uncle, auntie, and the children had left the house in within that one day. It wasn't all horrible, as I was able to see my grandparents' house again. I got to read a bunch of love letters that my grandpa had sent my grandma that she had kept, and some of her journals. A few months after, they told us to write on a list what things we wanted from the house. I had already taken some books my grandmother had read me as a child, and a picture she had drawn. I wanted an old pot with bears painted on it, in which she used to make me hot milk in. There wasn't really anything else that I wanted. My uncle, aunties, and cousins were a different story though. My sister wanted one of their nice dish sets that they had treasured over decades. But of course, the uncle took the entire set, almost stole the silver, a bunch of dolls that had been promised to my younger sister, not S in the story, and my sister had to almost literally fight for this. The entitled uncle had already taken many expensive instruments and other expensive dish sets. My sister got me the most of the silver because she wanted me to have more than just a little pot, so I would be able to give my children something that had belonged to my grandparents. The love letters were really heartwarming. Some are from the time they had just started dating, and really let me appreciate just how much love they had for each other and how long they were romantic. My grandpa would write notes after they bickered, or just when he wanted her to know how much he loved and appreciated her. Knowing that I will never have to see the auntie and uncle again is truly a blessing, even though I'm still heartbroken over the death of my grandparents. I still can't tell this story without crying, but it's therapeutic in a way to write it all down. Our next story was posted by user Sjkxism, titled, Entitled Parent Thinks I'm Buying Drugs. So, after school, I was buying a charging block from a friend, as I managed to lose my own. I'm guessing from the entitled parent's point of view, in the car, I was buying drugs. Characters in this story are me, the heir to the Iron Throne, F, the drug dealer, who's my friend, T, teacher, and EM, entitled mother. After school, I was buying a charger block from my friend because I lost my own, but she had it in her car, so we had to walk to the school's parking lot. So the parking lot is kind of like a circle thing, so parents drive around it, up to the school, and drive out while teachers and students park to the side of it. Enter the entitled mother. She says, "What are you doing?" Me and the friend collectively go, "What? Do you think I'm dumb?" "We don't even know who you are, lady." "I am so-and-so's mother." Me and my friend could see her son in the car, and he was trying his best to stay out of view. Pretty sure he was trying to find bleach. Friend goes, "Okay." "I can see you're giving him drugs." I get the charger block out of my pocket and say, "Do you mean this? I wasn't buying drugs." "You're lying. I see what she gave you." The teacher comes outside because the entitled mother was blocking a lane with her car, and the other parents weren't happy about that. She goes, "Excuse me, ma'am, can you move your car? You're blocking other parents from picking up their kids." "He was buying drugs from her." And then she points to my friend. In my school, being accused of having or buying anything illegal can frick you over hard. So naturally, I'm trying to defend myself, and so is my friend. No, I was just giving him a charger block. Yeah, I lost mine, and my friend was giving me one of hers. I don't know why we would tell her straight up she was giving it to me, but that's not important. "Can you take everything out of your pockets, kids?" My friend and I then take everything out of our pockets. The teacher looks at the entitled mother and says, "Ma'am, you must have been confused. Neither of them have any drugs on them." "They're lying. I've seen them. They have to be hiding it." "Ma'am, they've taken everything out of their pockets. They don't have any drugs on them. Once again, I have to repeat this." "Now you're covering for them. I will call the police and get you fired." My school has 2 police officers on campus at all times. That's convenient. And the teacher says, "There's 2 officers on campus already. I can go get one if you'd like." "Go!" The teacher walks back to the school. Then, the entitled mother runs her fat ass back to the car and drives through the line and damn near caused an accident. The teacher sees this and kind of just laughs. My friend and I then go into our car and drive off because we didn't want to deal with the officer asking questions and all that. No crazy arrest, dragons or anything like that, unfortunately. So, our next story is titled, I Punched an Entitled Mother That I Met a Long Time Ago, by user Imaginary Broccoli 6. So as much as I want to deny it actually happened, but it did. I'm not a violent person and never will be. I hate being violent, especially towards women. Despite an incident with one that left me scarred mentally, but this woman laid her hands on me and my gun, again, and then gets what she deserves. Characters in this story are entitled mum, entitled teenager, around 14 years old, friend's dad, owner of the gun range that this is set in, and me, the victim once again. So just to recap from my previous post, The entitled mother stole my rifle at the gun range while her devil child tried to shoot it, but then it didn't work out and got a bit out of hand, and almost shot the friend's dad and got arrested. So today was one of the 3 times a month I go to the gun range. I now am in Platinum class as I improved quite a bit over the years. Quick context again, bronze is for beginners, silver is for rifles, gold is for small machine guns, and platinum is for pistols, shotguns, and machine guns such as the AK-47. But they stopped AK-47 for reasons I'm not going to disclose. I loaded up my pistol and started shooting. After I finished, I was loading the bullets into the magazine when my friend's dad comes over to be happy that I'm back again. I stopped for a while because I was dealing with some mental issues regarding some altercation with my dark self, and it led to me hurting myself again, but I'm better now. And he says to me, "Hey, it's been a while since you came back." I actually did come back last week, but they said you weren't around. Yeah, friend got caught up in uni, so we had a celebration for him. That's nice. Where's he going? Baltimore? Oh, that's nice. Kick the habit. Yeah, I said this, long story. Remember the entitled mother? Ah, crap, yes I do. She was quite the devil. You don't seem to remember what her charges were, do you? Well, actually, some of her charges were, aggravated assault, resisting arrest, and theft. That's it. I assumed there were more considering how she was, well, that's the thing. She didn't go to prison. Say what now? Yeah, she was the wife of a very, very high-profile diplomat at the time, so she was basically untouchable. However, a silver lining, the dude divorced her because he told me, and then she got probation for 4 years. But that meant, sorry, I have to go now. We've got some new guns to try out. We're bringing back the AK-47. In my head I go, crap. I got pretty hungry, so I went to the vending machine and came back. There I saw a teenager about 14 or 15 years old, admiring the pistol. I asked him to be careful with that, and he turned around, and... FML, the entitled teenager is standing in front of me. You! Freak you! What are you doing here? You're banned! Well, I'm here, but don't worry, I won't be long, I'm just wandering around. I'm only worried considering how much of a crazy mother you have. Whatever. He left, and I was sat there stunned. A few hours go by, and I was in the middle of shooting, and a hand, out of nowhere, pushed my gun down in the middle of firing the gun. I turn around and see the entitled mother. Karen haircut? Nope. But very, very, very unkempt hair appearance. I could actually smell it. Get out of here. My son wants to use this place now. First of all, don't yell at my face. Second of all, your son's bronze and banned. And third of all, surprise, surprise, you're banned as well. I'm not banned. I know the owner, and he allowed me back in. I have difficulty believing that. I'll prove it then. Go ahead. The entitled mother then storms off to get my friend's dad, even though I'm wondering where she's going, as friend's dad is literally 2 huts away from me. She comes back with a man completely oblivious to the situation, now known as Confused Guy. By the way, the guy was a foreigner, and he spoke English, and the entitled mother was speaking Indonesian to him. I felt kind of bad. Here's the owner. Now tell him I'm allowed here. What? What is happening? Tell him I'm allowed here. What are you saying, lady? I don't know you and I don't work here. I'm just shooting the guns. Me, now in English because she was speaking Indonesian, say, where did she find you? I was in the toilet and she ordered me to go with her, and when I refused, she dragged me. Can you tell me what's happening? You can go, it's fine, she's crazy. Okay. I stared at the entitled mother. Now I was speaking in Indonesian, but I translated it for you English readers. Do you think that I'm stupid? Well, yes, you're just a dumb 14-year-old. I was 14 when you first met me, but now I'm 18, and I have a job. No way you have a job. Who would want to hire you? Enough people so that I have a stable income. I'm gonna get you banned. How would you do that if you yourself are banned? I'm gonna sue you. I'll countersue you since I have enough evidence here that this place is against you. But I'm married to a diplomat. You're divorced and single, for real. I'll scream rape then. Seriously, just shut the freak up, okay? You're not going to get away with it this time. Now get out. The entitled mother left, but then she punched me in the back of the head, so I punched her directly in the face. She had a bloody nose, and my friend's dad came over. What the heck just happened here? He looks at her and says, You again! You're banned from this premises. Leave right now. He assaulted me. You did first, lady. Liar. The entitled teenager then tried to punch me, but a bystander saw him and pushed him into the ground. Friend's dad called security. I'm gonna sue you. Go ahead. You'll fail anyway because of what happened 4 years ago. The entitled mother looks at the friend's dad and said, Fix my nose. Go freak yourself, lady. Security came and escorted her out, but not before she tried to punch me again, and I punched her out cold, and she was dragged away. As for the entitled teenager, he's also banned for good now, and both the entitled mother and teenager are on the watch list. If you guys are wondering about the gun I used, it's a Glock 17 Generation 4. Update: I got a lot of questions regarding why the AK-47 was banned. The reason being is because of the power. The power of the gun is just too powerful, no matter what class of gun range you're in. The AK-47 has resulted in damage to the building, as well as killing some animals in the process. And so my friend's dad made the executive decision to stop it, since he didn't want anyone to get hurt. It was 4 years ago. Since they brought it back, the AK-47 has a special area within the gun range, so now no one or nothing can get hurt. Attendants will be there just to help in case. They have bulletproof vests and protective gear. Hopefully that answers your questions. Our last story was posted by a user, grumblegramble, titled, Please call all of your surgeries tomorrow off and ask them to move for my son. This happened a few weeks ago at an outpatient pediatric subspecialty clinic. I'm working the phones, not my usual job, I'm medical staff, so I'm usually in the back, but we were short-staffed that day, and I get this call. The car star, me, entitled father, and sweet little boy who has no idea what's going on. I answer it and say, Hello, can I help you? Yes, Dr. So-and-so ordered a surgery and I wanted to schedule it for tomorrow. Oh, I don't think I have anything available tomorrow, but I can look for our next available time. The surgery he ordered is the most complicated one we do, and usually books out a month, as it's scheduled for 2 hours with our busiest doctor. I live 4 hours away and I'll be in town tomorrow, so I need it done tomorrow. The doctor said he could do it tomorrow. I'm sorry, I checked again and I don't think I can do it tomorrow. Let me look for the next available one. You don't get it. It has to be done tomorrow. Listen, why don't you call all of the patients in the schedule tomorrow and ask if they'll push their surgeries out so my son can have his tomorrow. I'm sorry, I can't do that. These patients have been waiting a long time for their surgeries. Why don't you talk to the doctor and see what he says? This doctor is notoriously hard to get a hold of and will likely not even remember who I'm talking about, but I say I'll try. Okay, I'll try to reach out and we'll call you back and let you know when we can get you in. Maybe we can squeeze you in when he's on call next. Oh, you'll squeeze me in tomorrow? Son! No, sir, son! She's going to get us in tomorrow, tell her thank you. Sir, no, please! His son, in the sweetest little voice possible, says back, Thank you. And I say, Sir, I'll speak with the doctor about getting you in some other time, but tomorrow is not going to happen. We'll call you with what the doctor says. The entitled father then hangs up. I did reach out to the doctor, but surprise, surprise, he didn't call me back. I passed it on to my superiors to deal with the entitled father. Edit. After seeing all of the requests for an update, I went ahead and checked in on the patient's account. The surgery was ordered a week prior to this conversation, and he was only then just reaching out to schedule it. It looked like our surgery schedulers reached out and they went ahead and scheduled for a month out. I guess his schedule worked out for that day. Also, I wanted to note, these surgeries are not urgent. They are exploratory in nature. Not once did he note that the boy was in pain. The only conflict was his schedule. The little kiddo seemed to be doing fine though. And of course, the doctor couldn't remember telling him that they could do it the next day. Go figure. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. I'll try my best to keep daily uploads going. Do you guys like the longer episodes like this or shorter ones? Tell me in the comments. Tell me what you think of voices. Some of you have said to tone down how dramatic it is. I think that's a split one. I do enjoy doing the voices, but I want to start doing audiobook recordings as well, so could be practice for that, could be practice toning it down. I'm not completely sure. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good day, and tell me what you think of it in the comment section. Bye!